Hello, hello, hello. This is Ken here from RD Labs. Hope this is reaching you well. So, coming to you with another one. So, today, we're not going to focus on doing a review on a specific project or projects of interest as we always do. Basically, we're just going to give a recap and update in terms of what's happening in the market. Obviously, we've seen this slight rollover that's taking place from Bitcoin to Ethereum, from all asset classes. So, we need to take a look at where we are today, what we need to do to prepare ourselves for potential move lower, or alternatively for price to find some form of support and for continuation to the upside. So if you haven't, please make sure you click on the link in the description. This is RD Labs DeFi checklist. This checklist will help you in terms of making the best decision when entering or looking to invest in a project. Okay, so it goes through on-page analysis, off-page analysis, team, dev token. So all you're essentially doing is going through the whole checklist and then writing down this information. And then once you've gone through all these detailed, thorough information, you should have the opportunity to present a summary in terms of advantages, disadvantages, and also the results in terms of what's your conviction. Are you interested in entering or buying this investment? Yes, no. What concerns do you have? And then with these concerns that you may have, or questions or comments, you can be able to raise this with by going to that specific project's Telegram or Twitter, or ask them questions to essentially ease the concerns you have or answer the questions you have. That will give you much more confidence, right? We've done this from day one, and we've really come out with some phenomenal projects that's done phenomenal returns for the RD Familia, yes, the RD Labs community that we have, investment group. So let's get straight to it. So basically over the last, if I just pull up this chart here, this is a trading view chart on a daily time frame of Bitcoin. What we've seen is we've seen price tested $65,000. If we just put on a horizontal trend line here, tested the $65,000, and since then it's been moving lower. We have seen a buoyant, general buoyancy over the last, since, let's say, the crash occurred on, the 13th of March, when it really tested the lows of 4,000, right? Tested lows of 4,000 last year, 2020, and since then it's been moving to the upside. It's been some strong, buoyant move because institutions got involved. We've heard some positive news from, Jack Dorsey of Twitter and CEO of Square in terms of integrating as a payment system, PayPal, using it as an opportunity that people can be able to make payments. We've had Tesla. There's so many large corporations that want to integrate Bitcoin, cryptocurrency somehow into what they're doing, right? So this has been a solid move. This is also continued with the news, obviously that the growth of not only the DeFi space, but also NFTs. Everyone's talking about NFTs. And that's the topic we're going to really touch on probably in the next video. So really it kind of like traded in a range for some while. And then we've just seen this real solid move to the downside of lower lows, lower highs, essentially red candles. That's really struggling to find some form of a low. We do have where price more or less tested a support line. So if we pull this up, this is a horizontal line going here. So tested this support line in price, and it really just held off there. And now market is more or less trading, still making lower highs. And really just hopefully should maybe steady trade in this range. Now let's see the reasoning behind what's happened. What's powered this move to the downside? Well, what we heard news such as Elon Musk that basically came out, a host of tweets that basically came out and basically said, and this is a few days ago on the 13th of May, said that basically we're concerned about the rapidly increasing use of fossil fuels for Bitcoin mining and transactions, especially coal, which is the worst emissions of any fuel. He's essentially saying that cryptocurrency is a fantastic idea, very promising, but it might have, a huge impact on the environment in terms of, the cost, right? The great cost. So he then says Tesla will not be selling any Bitcoin, and we intend to use it for transactions as soon as mining transitions to more sustainable energy. So due to that, market really took a big nosedive. As you can clearly see here, that was more or less the start. When was this? On around that period, really moved lower. And then there's another tweet that he did about 3-4 days later, and then someone mentioned Bitcoiners are going to slap themselves next quarter when they find out that Tesla dumped the rest of their Bitcoin holdings. So first he basically says that Tesla will not be selling, this is on the 13th, Then this individual, Mr. Wells, said that in the next filing, it will show that Tesla did actually dump Bitcoin, and Elon Musk's reply was indeed. So indeed is open to interpretation. Did he actually lie with the first tweet and then came out with a second one? I don't know. But the most important thing is just keeping a lookout of what's really impacting the price. And this has obviously had an impact. And obviously you can clearly see what's happened there. Then due to that, in addition to that, over the last few days, we've really seen 800,000 crypto traders liquidated in the last 24 hours. This is on the 19th of May. So this is due to people being over leveraged, a total margin calls occurring, liquidations taking place. There's a lot of negative news, and what tends to happen, being in the space since 2017, I've seen that when FUD or when this negative news occurs, it all occurs at the same time. It always happens like that. And then basically, in addition to that, we heard that Chinese regulators are clamping down on cryptocurrency. So here you can basically see China has essentially banned financial institutions and payment companies from providing services related to cryptocurrencies. So people basically said, by banning, is this a way for people essentially to get scared, to start panic selling, right? And then essentially buy it up at a cheaper price, so they can have this as reserves and to build and become the dominant powerhouse that China wants to be. Yes. So there's so many ifs and buts, we don't know, but it's really just providing you with this content, this information to see what's behind this move, right? Then, so that's that. And in addition to that, we've heard obviously news that basically came out 2 days ago that US Treasury calls for stricter cryptocurrency compliance with IRS, says they pose tax evasion risks. So what they're now come out, they've announced, the Treasury Department basically announced on Thursday, a couple of days ago, that it require that any transfer worth $10,000 or more to be reported to the Internal Revenue Service. Okay, so this is again really trying to track that whole movement of funds, ensuring that the Treasury would get a percentage essentially in terms of tax from that, which is going to obviously help their coffers. But obviously this is again more news, whether you see this as negative or positive, but this is more news that's essentially accumulating or adding to what's currently happening in the space, and hence the reason why any positive news that's coming out, and we've heard positive news that people are really buying up a huge amount of Bitcoin, but this has been overshadowed by the huge swath of negative news that's really accumulated, and hence that move from 60,000 all the way down to 30,000 in the space of literally 2 weeks. It's literally gone by more than 50% from these highs of 65,000 to 30,000. So what I do feel is I really feel, sorry for those that really bought the tops. And I said this always, if you, for example, go to the supermarket and you're having a conversation with, the teller or someone that's working in a supermarket or a taxi driver, right? Just communicate with people on the street and they're saying that, oh, I'm buying Bitcoin, or just the standard retail people that have no understanding of crypto, that are literally remortgaging, that are literally taking out loans and just putting it and buying without having a true understanding, reminds me a lot of what took place back in here. So back in 2017, when it made the highs of about $20,000, it reminded me at that point when around December, it's like December times when people started just jumping and buying Bitcoin without having no full understanding of what's happening. It just reminds me a lot of that space now, unfortunately. So it's been a real strong move to downside. The question is now, is where will this hold? So if we basically go back to the daily time frame. So that's the support level. I'm also going to pull up and put in a upward trending trend line. So this slightly changes in terms of what we normally focus on, right? Early projects, analytical, using approach with our DeFi checklist. But obviously with the current market, we need to focus on existing holdings, find out what's going on, where there's opportunity to start selling, right, banking the profits that we have made in the small cap projects that we've invested in. This is from the RD Familiar, but also for those that are invested in, array of, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano. It really just, one needs to be very, very cautious in terms of risk management aspect, and not be in a situation where you're holding everything and hoping and wishing for the market to recover. When you start getting to that mindset, it's all over, right? So you need to be proactive. You need to be aware of what are your levels, right? So if the price breaks below the $30,000, what are you going to do, right? Rather than say, oh, it's breaking, what should I do? It's like, start making decisions based on, if it breaks below 30,000, am I selling half of my holdings? Am I buying some more? Again, not financial advice, but what I will basically do is, and I'm going to put in another trend line here. So put in another trend line. And if I take this level from here, so what I've done is I've taken a trend line support all the way from the lows of when the market crash occurred in 2020 March to the high low of October. So we see price points here around this 18,000 level. I know people are thinking, Ken, what is going on? 18,000, that is an absolute nosedive, right? That's literally 50% off where the price is today. The market is so volatile. It just takes another huge slough of 2 or 3 negative pieces of news that fundamentally can have a huge impact on the price for it to actually test the $18,000, right? But if the price can trade sideways and hold, and hopefully the news that diminishes, right, the negative news, and we start to get some positive news, people buying it up, corporations, institutions looking to play a role in buying up reserves of Bitcoin, and more integrations and building up the whole infrastructure, then I'm hoping that the intention is that the price will trade sideways. It fails to break below this support level, and then we see it generally trade maybe for a week to 2 weeks before we get a push back up to those all-time highs, right? Because it has really cleared out 800,000 traders, even more now, right? Have literally been liquidated. So it's taken out potentially a lot of those who may have bought in at these highs, a lot of those that were over leveraged, and now it's looking for newcomers to come in. Some people say it's best just to wait until it breaks new all-time highs and then to buy in, right? Because you know that there's conviction that it will continue to move to the upside potentially. But there is clearly a risk to try and buying up now without any cleared direction from the short term. Long-term views, again, do your own research, is I'm extremely bullish in the whole crypto space. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And I do see long-term, let's say as a total market cap, really hitting this $10 trillion within the next couple of years, so literally more than a 5x from where we are today. So that's that. For any positions, what you can also do is just pull up a trend line and maybe even onto a smaller time frame. So let's just go down to a 1 hour time frame, shall we? So what you can also do is just put in a downward trend line. Because what you need to start doing is being smart and thinking outside the box, right? Not waiting for other people to make decisions for you. You make your own decisions, because this is your own portfolio. So all I've clearly done here is putting a downward trend line here from this high to this lower high. And what I'm essentially doing is to see that from a short-term aspect, can price break through this 42,000 level for continued move to test potentially the next lows, which would be 47,000. So what I'll then do is I'll pull up a horizontal trend line, just take this here. So what I've basically done is just taken a short term, which was a support, now turn resistance. So if it breaks through 40,000 level, this downward resistance line, we could be looking at 47,000 test before continuing move to the upside. So I'm going to be watching the market very closely. For me, the intention for it to trade sideways. If it does, if there is 2-3 pieces of very negative news, personally, I'll be looking at selling some of my holdings, transferring them into stables. I do have quite a nice chunk in stables, and being aware to buy up when there's blood on the streets, right? Warren Buffett always said, even though he's not an advocate of crypto, he always said, when people are fearful, now's the time to be greedy. When people are greedy, now's the time to be fearful. So clearly, when it's at these highs, people are greedy. Everyone's looking to buy. That's when you need to be aware of what's going on, right? So anyway, just a quick heads up. If you like this information, if you like what we've been doing, please support the community. Please make sure you download this free checklist. Start following the guidelines. Start following the structures. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.